Welcome to Meet the Candidates, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Greg Anderson. It's so nice to have you with us. The next 30 minutes will really bring you an inside look into one of the candidates that is running for selectman. As you can imagine, in the interest of equal time, each selectman candidate, in fact, every candidate that is running for office that will be on the ballot, has been invited by Sandwich Community Television to participate in this one-on-one interview with me. And we're pleased with the interest, and we're bringing these to you not only on television, but also on Facebook as well. On Wednesday, April 5th, Sandwich Community Television and the Sandwich Enterprise will be hosting once again the Sandwich Candidates Forum to be held on the second floor of Town Hall in the evening. That will be a debate. This is not. This is a conversation between one voter to a person running for your vote as a next selectman. Let me introduce formally Bobby George, who is running for one of two vacant seats for selectman. Great. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on in. So there's an interesting thing when it comes to social media and what gets people's attention. And these red hats sitting right here in front of me. Let me grab that if you can push that over. This thing has gotten a ton of attention.
Yes, sir.
Where did you come up with the name? I think I know, but tell me what your thought process
President
is.
Trump, he had a good slogan, "Make America Great Again." And where I've spent so many years of my life in Sandwich, and it used to be great, it is great now, but I want to make it a little better.
Okay.
The tax rate, things we had when I was growing up in this town, a lot of things I don't see that when I was a youngster that we don't have. And try to get the town back where it used to be and let the townspeople get more involved and the selectmen get involved so we can make Sandwich better.
So you're feeling that there's missed opportunity. Correct. Right now. We're going to get into a lot of the detail behind that, but
Yes.
Is that safe to say is part of the platform that you're running on, that there's missed opportunity?
I would think so.
Okay.
As far as business, we don't have very much business in the town of Sandwich. No economic development going on. One of my big things that I've been saying to a lot of people, and they ask me why I'm running, and I say, in the town of Sandwich, if you were going to buy a pair of socks, pair of underwear, or a coat, where would you go? And they all look at me and they pause for a minute and they go like, they think, and they go, we can't.
Yeah.
You can't find a place to buy those items in the town of Sandwich. You have to go to Mashpee, Falmouth, Bourne, Hyannis. So it's time we change things and bring Sandwich up to where everybody else is, and people can start putting more back into the town of Sandwich instead of spending their money out of the town of Sandwich.
Let's talk about you have a long-standing career with the fire department.
Yes.
I mean, we know you in that
Yes.
that context, and very grateful for all that you do. And how long have you been on the fire department?
48 years I spent there.
48 years. You had an interest in running before.
Yes.
Then there was
There was a conflict with the selectmen because I was still on the fire department. And the conflict was because I couldn't run, supposedly, being a town employee. So I called the Ethics Commission, and they said I could. The state statutes say I can. I would have to stay out of fire department business. And so I checked the town charter and with Taylor White and the Ethics Commission. Town charter says you cannot. So I said, okay, that's fair. You'll see me next year.
And here you are.
So I'm retired in August, and I'm here, and I'm going after it.
So you, having seen you at town meetings and selectmen meetings, and you were just at the last selectmen meeting talking about
Yes.
a road situation. How does your career lend you to be a good selectman in Sandwich?
I think my past career, I've gotten to mingle with a lot of people in town. I've seen so many people come and go. I know a lot of the town in and out. I've seen things happen. I've been involved with a lot of things that happen being on the fire department. I've seen the emergencies. I've seen the good times, the bad times. So I've got a good feeling of the whole town, the roads. I know most every road in town. There's not much that I miss. And I've been helping people for all those years, and I felt that I wanted to get back into it after retiring, that I can, help the town, help the people in town, and have the selectmen get more involved with the townspeople.
Yeah.
On a one-to-one basis.
Explain that. You mentioned that earlier to me. Explain that dynamic that you think is missing.
Well, one of the things is like the undercover boss on TV. You see that, and you see the bosses going out and mingling with the employees and the department heads as undercover, and they get a feeling of what's going on in the business. It is a business, and being a selectman, you're a department head, basically. And I think it's the selectman's job to go out there and mingle with the employees, with the department heads, on a one-to-one basis and ask them how things are going. If there's a problem in that department, the selectmen probably are never going to find out about it. When they find out, it'll be too late. And I think what the town charter says, you have to ask permission from the town administrator to go out and do that. And I feel that you shouldn't have to have permission to go out and mingle with your employees and your department heads. If you don't take care of your employees and department heads, you're not going to ever find out the problem if there is. And when you find out the problem, it's going to be way too late. And if you don't take care of them, they're not going to stay here. They're going to leave. They're going to go somewhere else where it's better. So I think from that point that you could get a better working relationship with the selectmen, the town administrator, and the department heads and the employees work together more. And right now, I don't think we have that. I've been out there and asking, department employees, what's going on? Is there problems? And I'm hearing these problems, and they say nobody even knows about it. It doesn't get back to the selectman, the town administrator. So I think by that process, it'd be more workable, and I think we can all get together, and the departments along can get together and work together. I think it'll work a lot better that way.
If you and I were to walk into Stop and Shop or Cafe Chew or the Daniel Webster, and we were to look at a sampling of residents that are out there, that are in these places,
right,
and say, tell me 3 things, give me 2 even, that are hot point issues for the average voter out there. What do you think those couple of topics would be that literally is, I understand there's a dynamic with the town, with the administration, with kind of the management of the town.
Right.
But when you drive down Boulder Brook, when you drive down, Summer Street, and you're talking to the real people, what is it that they are most concerned about, in your opinion?
I think number one is the tax rate. Our tax rate just went up. I've looked at that, and we're the highest on Cape Cod. The next one down is Yarmouth. They come in at somewhere just over $10. Bourne is the third, a little bit $9.50, somewhere like that, and then all the way down to $5. The kids are moving out of town. They can't afford to live here when they get out of our schools. The elderly population is having a hard time paying their taxes. And I think it all reverts back to economic development.
Okay.
We have a 400-acre parcel off of Route 130 behind the coke plant. It's industrial zoned. Has never been utilized. That was supposed to have a right-of-way in there by one of the selectmen, I was told. I met with the Economic Development Group, and the ball was dropped on that. So that's one area that we can develop, get industry back into the town, get our tax rate down. The Golden Triangle is another sore subject. There's 2 petitioners that have tried to get that developed. I met with one, and I can tell you his name, Tommy Sokoloff, and he's done a lot of development out there in Cotuit Road, Quaker Meeting House Road, and he told me the other day, he says, every time I go back and try to do something with the town, they stick it right to him. He spent thousands of dollars trying to develop that area. He was even willing to put the sewage treatment plant in the town there. And that's another area we're getting hit from the federal government now with our wastewater treatment. The selectmen in negotiations, the federal government's starting to step in now and saying you will do it. When I was on the planning board back in the 70s, the federal government was going to come in and expand the marina and put in sewage on Town Neck. And the town said no, they didn't want any part of it. Sandwich Hollows, that was going to be developed by a Boston group. They were going to develop recreational fields. I think Bobby Orr was going to come in and put in a skating arena there. The Boston group was, I guess, willing to pay the $400,000 a year bill that we have for the golf course, and they were told, no, we don't want any part of that. So right along over the years, we've missed the boat on economic development, letting the town grow, and now we're all having to pay for it with our taxes. So if we don't do something, nobody's going to be able to afford to stay here anymore. The Council on Aging, I've met with them, and Jan Timmons has told me within 15 years, 75% of our town is going to be over 65. So at that point, where are we going to get our tax money from?
Right. Let's talk a little bit about, from an economic development, before we get to seniors, from an economic development, you have an option. You have an idea that Bourne is utilizing.
Correct.
Take me a little bit through your thought process, and then to what extent you have introduced it or broached the subject. If you will.
One of my thoughts are, as far as lowering our tax rate, putting some money in our coffers, in our budget, would be 3 town-owned campgrounds. I've been camping for years. I almost bought a campground in Vermont. Town of Bourne's been running a campground on the canal for years and making a considerable amount of money. I've looked at different parcels in town. We have Oak Crest Cove that was a campground, and that was run by one of our head maintenance men in the town of Sandwich. They have 4 cabins on the pond. There's approximately 32 cabins up above on the hill. None of that is being utilized right now. They have the rec building down below, which the rec committee is using that. They have would be a manager's house up above. They have an office, which is in that complex. That would be one town-owned campground. The other is behind Seafood Sam's down on the canal. The power plant owns that piece of property behind Seafood Sam's all the way to the water. We could develop that, get that piece of property from the power plant. It was going to be a coal yard, which they just got okayed for a gas plant, so they're not going to use that piece of property. I've been in talking to the power plant, and I kind of gave that to them, and they went, maybe. So if we could get that piece of property, we could run that, put a campground in there, just like Scusser Beach on the other side of the canal. And then the Ryder property, there was some state and federal funds paid into that years ago. That would have to be paid back to them, I think, to be able to develop that. That would be a third one. There's a road in there right now. We have the beach, several buildings in there. So there could be 3 town-owned campgrounds. You run them from May to October. You shut them down. You hire 3 managers. You keep them year-round to do the maintenance on it. You hire the elderly people in town and the kids in town with summer jobs. Over a $10 million revenue for a 6 months operation.
That seems like a no-brainer to
It's a no-brainer. I've mentioned it to the selectmen probably a month ago, and they all kind of opened their eyes and were surprised to hear that. And I told them exactly where it was and what my thoughts were about it. So that's another way that we could bring in, development into the town. 6 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Run it.
Let's switch gears and talk about something that you're very familiar with, fire and safety.
Yep.
Your fire chief stated in a newspaper article back in January that in 2016 there were more than 4,000 calls to the fire department, up from an average of 3,800. Much of it, he says, was due in part to seniors staying on the Cape year-round, among other things.
Right.
Thus, speaking to what you were just discussing, which is the seniors, an increase in seniors. Do you feel that the town of Sandwich is adequately supporting our police and fire departments?
At this point, I do. At the last town meeting, they voted to give them a new building on Quaker Meeting House, Katuitt. The police department's getting a new building. The building downtown, the ceilings were leaking for years. They had to come in, rip those all out. They've outgrown it. They have probably 2 or 3 offices in there that are 10 by 10. It's time that they upgraded that. They voted to open up Station 2, which has been a process for over 50 years. When I started the fire department in '73, I worked at Station 3 and Station 2 in East Sandwich. They had me by myself, and that was in '73.
Wow.
Day shift. And they opened up Station 3, and they never opened up full-time Station 2. So it's been 50 years, and after 50 years, now we're going to have somebody down there.
Yeah.
The town supported the buildings, but they did not support the manpower. And I had talked to the finance committee and before the town meeting, and they were going to come up with another way to fund the manpower, which never happened. The grant was in place before town meeting, and after town meeting, the vote went down on the manpower, but the grant came in place. So luckily that we had that in place, and we got the grant money for the 8 men. So right now they've got the station being built on Quaker Meeting House with the police station. They got Station 2 being manned when they get that done. Downtown, eventually they say it's in the floodplain. They're going to have to do something with that station. And the possibility is the selectmen want to sell the wing school. I'm against that. It's right in the middle of town. There's a lot of opportunities we can do there. That could be a great place to have another Station 1 is on that property.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things we can do. Hopefully we'll get some funding when the grant runs out, and they'll keep those 8 guys on there to man that station. We'll have all 3 stations manned.
So as we sit here today, you're feeling like we're good.
I think we're pretty good right now.
We're good.
And let's see what happens in the future.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about historic preservation. So you mentioned the wing school.
Right.
And we have the 1927 building,
Correct.
which I want to focus on a little bit.
Yeah.
But before we drill down there, talk to me a little bit about the overall redevelopment of the wing school property. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I knew I was coming here, so yesterday I spent an hour in the wing school. I walked through there top to bottom. I went to school there, my school years, and I was amazed at what I found in there. It's full of computers, desks, cabinets. When they left that school, they just left everything there. The heat was up to 85 degrees in some of the rooms up there. So that school is being utilized right now. Supposedly they said you couldn't use it, okay? The superintendent's office is in there. And they're utilizing that building. I met with some of their staff, and they said that the selectmen, I guess, want to move them out of there in late summer, put them into portable classrooms in one of the other schools. And they said, well, why don't we stay here? I said, well, that's a great idea. You're utilizing it. The Council on Aging comes in there and they use the gymnasium. So that building, I think, needs a lot of work. I met with the facilities manager and I asked him what his gut feeling was, and he said that in general, he said the building's in pretty good shape. There's things that need to be corrected. But the architects have to, I think, dig into it more. The facilities manager said that they was a quick knee-jerk operation when they looked at it. They really didn't look at the whole building in its entirety.
So when you're talking about the building, you're talking about the original building plus the actual school.
Yeah,
that
the old
was
part.
used up until
the
2
old
years
part.
ago.
The old part's in rough shape. I mean, it's an old building.
Yeah.
And some engineers will have to look at that. But other parts of the building, there was some leaks in the ceilings. They have that. There's windows. Some of them have been caulked in to keep them in there with some foam.
Yeah.
But to take an excellent location like that and just say, sell it, get rid of it, be done with it. It's right in the middle of town. We have 3 town halls. I don't think we need 3 town halls. We could put the town halls there. I met with the library people. Their grant, they lost that. They lost the support from the selectmen. They lost the land for the new library. They could put a new library there or an annex there. The Council on Aging is looking for a new building. I think we're going to get into that. There's a full kitchen, commercial kitchen there. The Council on Aging, if it doesn't work out on their other spot, they could go in there. There's offices in there. They could do Meals on Wheels from there. There's so many things that they could do.
So what about the cost? Because if people are listening to this, I'm sure they're saying, you know, Bobby, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
You know, it's a ton of land, a big building, fix it, we're good.
Right.
But the cost, especially when you're talking about wanting to lower the tax rate and spending, if you will, how do you
Well, I think the cost is if we're going to build town halls, we're going to build senior citizen centers, you know, any of that. We have to get economic development in here to balance it out. We have to have you know, money coming in because money's going to go out. To buy pieces of land or build, if they have to knock some of it down, then let it be so. They knock it down and start over again. But our senior citizens center that we have is just a disgrace. And I've been in there myself, and my parents are alive. I had to go in there and you talk to them. You want to talk privately, you go in and talk to the attorney about what you do for setting up trust and whatnot. The meeting room for that is in the back room in the kitchen. That's where they go. It's disgraceful.
Yeah.
So they need to do something with the senior citizen building. But I mean, it's a beautiful piece of property right in the middle of town, and to give that up, I can't foresee that, giving it up.
So the discussion of making it all parks and open land
No.
turns you upside down.
Upside down, because we need something in the middle of our center of our sandwich, center of the town.
Yeah.
And we have so many things that we need to do that's been let go for years.
Yeah.
So we need the economic development to balance the budget, to keep that going, so we have some income coming in so we can start to do things in the town.
Yeah.
We've missed the boat for years.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about historic preservation, and I can see by your comments already that the 1927 building over at Wing is one that you find to be useful if it were redeveloped as part of everything else over there.
Yes.
But from the historic preservation perspective, and I always disclose this, that I am the chair of the Historic Commission.
Right.
Not the district committee, but the Historic Commission. And the opportunity from that vantage point is to redevelop that, generate some revenue off of it. It is in the three historic districts, and let's preserve it. What is your take on historic preservation in town? Where do you enter into the discussion?
I've grown up in the town. I've been here all my life. I've seen things change. I hear everybody, the tourists, when they come in, Sandwich is a great historic little town. If they can keep it, maintain it, one of I think our faults in the town of Sandwich is we don't maintain our buildings well enough. Mm-hmm. You look at the Clark Haddad building. The superintendent's office was there. They utilized that building. They moved out, and they let it go. There's mold in there, the walls are bulging out, and now we're going to spend over $1 million to fix it. If we had maintained that building, that's one of our historic buildings.
Right.
If we had maintained it, we wouldn't be in the position we're in now to have to spend over $1 million. So I think it comes down to maintenance. I like Sandwich the way it is. Let's try to preserve it, but it all comes down to the fact of money. Mm-hmm. And if we start working on our economic development, then we'll generate enough money to keep up with the times. Right now, I think we've fallen back in that, so we're all strapped for money, and the big issue is money. Mm-hmm. And I think that we need to step up our maintenance on our buildings. We're not doing a lot of maintenance on our buildings. The Wing School is a good example of it. They've let that go down. They haven't maintained that. The fire station, we had a leaky roof for over a year. Mm-hmm. They didn't maintain that. Mm-hmm. And when you see the preservation part of it, I think, look at the town hall, the old town hall. That sat there for years and years and years, and they didn't do very good maintenance on it. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden we started using the preservation funds because they decided they want to save it. Right. Well, if they had been working on that the whole time, we wouldn't have been in that boat either.
So your position really comes down to twofold, which is the way I'm interpreting it. Correct me if I'm wrong. One is let's start investing in maintaining and turning around assets that we can be using and utilize them better.
True.
But then also build for the future.
Right.
Because here in 2017, we're sitting with buildings that have just been neglected. And we're paying for it now.
We're paying for it now. We have to have that money to be able to do that. And we have to have the revenue coming in, which we don't have much economic development in the town of Sandwich now.
Right.
So we need to start building that to be able to take care of the other. That's twofold.
Have you been following along the budget discussions to date?
Somewhat I have.
Okay. What's your take on the budget discussions so far? What do you think if you were to become a selectman, what are you going to be absorbing as it relates to the budget that looks like it's going to be?
The budget itself, we have to look at what we're going to spend. We have to look at what we got coming in, what we got going out. You have the police budget, you have the fire budget, you have the schools, a big budget. You always hear everybody, crying about the schools getting that. We have a lot of kids that are out of the school system. We're spending $3.2 million on charter schools. One of my big things, a question for the school committee is, why are these kids going out of Sandwich? Mm-hmm. Why are they not staying in the town of Sandwich school system?
Why do you think they're not staying?
Well, I asked one lady that's running for it. I signed her papers the other day, and she's going to look into that. She wants to find out why. A lot of the classes are repeat classes, and you have to take some classes to be able to compete to go to college. And so it's like, I really don't have the answer to that, and I'd like to find out why.
Well, one of the gentlemen who is running, Jim Pierce, who is running for selectman as well, is leaving the school committee. So he feels that because he feels that there is more influence in terms of resources going to the schools from the selectman level, and perhaps make it more competitive.
True.
So do you agree with that notion? That
I think they got a problem up there, and I think they're going to try to fix it. The new superintendent, Dr. Gould, I think I've watched some of the finance meetings with her. I was at the selectmen's, and has some great ideas. Seems to be on top of the budget and trying to cope with what's going on up there. Yeah. So I think that's the right direction to head with the schools. She seems to be working at it. She came within the budget. Yeah. I've met with the fire chief, and he's got his budget right down pat, all the numbers and everything. The numbers have been increasing, like you said, and that's another budget problem. That the town is getting older. We're having more ambulance runs, more fire calls, more investigations, and the town is growing. So we have to work with the budget and just try to figure that out.
So that can be a nice way to dovetail into our next topic as we wrap this up. Seniors. Population, according to numbers that I know Jan talks about, others use some different numbers, but regardless, you can't argue the fact that the senior population is growing.
It's growing, sure.
And having formerly been on the school committee, the board of directors for the Council on Aging myself, I understand there's a pinch, and there is a massive pinch, and it drains on different resources. How, as selectmen, how can you lend a voice to that pressure point with seniors in town as we go forward?
Well, you got to start with their building. They're coming in, they're looking for a new building. They're going to want to try to get in there with the police and fire building on Quaker Meeting House Road, Incotuit Road, which they've been in the building for years, which is disgraceful. Yeah. You have to look at that. You have to look, I think, at our tax rate. The elderly population is on a budget, and then I don't think they're going to be able to afford to live here anymore. So either they're going to move out of town, or we provide senior housing for them when they can afford to stay here in the town of Sandwich. I think it all encompasses with economic development, the senior housing. We had the Roberti's Dairy downtown for years, right behind Stop and Shop. Well, they turned it into a tree farm. What a great location for senior housing. I don't know why that was never sought after. I think it was a mistake that they made it a tree farm. Great location. So they missed the boat on that. The Wing School is another spot that we could have senior housing to take care of the elderly population.
And you're thinking of low income, not subsidized senior housing, but low income.
Low to moderate income in Sandwich residents, okay? So they can afford to stay here. A lot of them lived here, they've been brought up here. Right. And if you don't do that, then where are they going to go? Right. They're going to leave. You got people leaving now because they can't afford the tax rate. Yeah. Just imagine yourself on a fixed income and trying to pay the taxes. It's not going to be possible.
Well, if you are in that income bracket and at that age, and you're looking at these taxes
going up, and you're at a fixed income and your taxes are going up here and you're down here, it's not going to equal out. Yeah. So we got to start to look in the future to take care of your senior citizens, and we're going to be 75% over 65 in 15 years. Yeah.
You born and raised here?
Yes.
So you've been here all your life?
All my life.
I'm going to guess that you're probably 50 years old.
65. I just retired.
Okay.
They throw you out at 65.
You said it. I didn't.
Yeah. Okay.
Bobby, if I am thinking, I'm standing there at the polls and I'm saying, who do I vote for? I got this guy, Robert George.
Yep.
Why should I vote for you? Why circle your name?
Well, my interest is trying to make the town, as the hat says, make it better, make it great again. Make it so we all can stay in the town of Sandwich. Keep the town quaint like it is, but get our tax rate down, get some economic development here, take care of our seniors. And my aim is to go out there and work with everybody. I've had, since I've been running here, people have been calling me, giving me their thoughts, their complaints, their wishes. So it's more of working with everybody and try to stay connected with the town. And I've done it for what, 40-something years in the fire department. So I felt that I wanted to stay connected with the town and take care of people. That's what I did for so long. So.
Well said, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
I really appreciate it. And I want to thank you for joining us as well. Another thank you to Paula Johnson and her whole awesome team here at Sandwich Community Television. Paula in particular worked so hard to put these programs together as executive producer. We work with everyone's schedule to come together and have very thoughtful, meaningful discussions of things that you need to know about this election. I hope to see you at the upcoming Sandwich Candidates Forum, which will be on April 5th at Town Hall upstairs in the evening. That will be your opportunity to raise questions, watch the exchange between the candidates, and of course learn something more, perhaps, about this upcoming election season. This forum is sponsored by the Sandwich Enterprise and Sandwich Community Television. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again soon. Thank you.